My name is Carson. I'm a second-year PhD student from the University of Florida, and I'm really excited to be here today to discuss our work on potential security vulnerabilities that arise from the move from benchtop sequencing equipment to portable sequencing devices. So sequencing technology today is shrinking and devices are becoming portable. I'm sure, as you all know, portable devices are cheaper due to offloaded compute resources on external host machines, such as commodity laptops, phones, and tablets, among many other benefits to portable sequencing. However, with every major shift in technology, new problems arise. So traditionally, security and privacy in bioinformatics and clinical research has focused on protecting sensitive information collected in online genomic databases, how to securely share such data between entities, and how to avoid device tampering in closed laboratory environments. However, as seen for portable consumer Internet of Things devices, IoT devices, this transition introduces new security and privacy issues. So first, portable devices can connect to any computer, laptop, or tablet, which may itself be compromised. So from a cybersecurity standpoint, this means we can no longer consider the host machine as trusted. We consider this because of policies like Bring Your Own Device, BYOD, where employees use their own devices such as phones, laptops, and tablets to access business applications and data. In fact, a 2020 survey from VMware showed that nearly 80% of all organizations support some degree of BYOD, while another survey found that about 95% of employees state they use at least one BYOD device for work functions. But users may unintentionally engage in riskier browsing, email, or messaging, potentially compromising their device, and malware that infects an employee's computer because of their personal use could be used as a vector to steal sequencing data or to take control of a sequencing device. Second, portable devices can now be connected to commodity internet networks in the field, which may not be properly configured. So for example, host devices, such as personal laptops, are usually set to automatically connect to known Wi-Fis or even publicly available Wi-Fis, such as coffee shops and airport Wi-Fi. I'm sure many of you are connected to the conference Wi-Fi right now, which exposes devices to new risks of data breaches, as these networks may themselves be unprotected. And finally, portability means that bad actors may obtain physical access to the sequencing device in the field, which is another avenue of compromise. So now I'm going to discuss some specific threats that can come as a result of these new attack surfaces. So first, authentication issues. Authentication is how a user or device proves to another they are who they say they are to achieve access to a system. So improper authentication mechanisms can be exploited by attackers to gain access to systems they should not have. Traditionally, IP authentication was used to perform authentication over networks. This method was originally designed with immobile devices in mind, for example, benchtop equipment that does not move from its location. This was okay because networks were tightly controlled and only authorized users had access to those networks. However, as we can no longer assume this because of portability, IP authentication is no longer secure. IP addresses can be retrieved by attackers and used to fake their identity and gain unauthorized access to devices and computers. As a portable sequencer can be connected to a host machine, which can be connected anytime to any network, this increases the possibility for attackers to gain access to the sequencer, which may let them perform actions such as starting and stopping sequencing processes or even exfiltrating data. The solution to this problem is strong passwords and two-factor authentication, as I'm sure all of you use in your mobile phones. So if properly implemented, this can prevent adversaries from gaining access to the sequencing device. Another new issue is related to the confidentiality of the sequence data. So while we have security measures in place for online databases of genomic data, if the host machine itself is infected, such as a BYOD device, is infected by a virus or malware, malicious entities can secretly extract sequencing information before the data is stored online databases, as it is passed over cables or it is stored on the external host machine for computation. So the solution here is to adopt encryption for data storage and secure communication protocols between the sequencer and the host machine. So encryption is a technique where data is made unreadable to adversaries using a mathematical transformation that is only reversible using a key that's generally kept secret. So encrypting data over the connection between the sequencer and the host machine allows information to be passed to untrusted external computers without worry about adversaries attempting to read it. And finally, adversaries can try to subtly manipulate sequencing data by violating a property referred to as integrity. Integrity ensures that data received has not been tampered or altered as data is transmitted. So in our scenario, if the host device is compromised, adversaries may be able to alter the data as it is passed to the external host machine, or when it's stored in an infected host machine before or after base calling. So if the external host machine has no notion of if the received information is still the same as the data produced by the sequencer, there is no way to determine the legitimacy of this data, which can then be sent on and stored in online databases. and used in the future for other computation. So a potential solution to this problem is to adopt message authentication codes or digital signatures. Message authentication codes are usually called MACs. These authentication checks, it's a code typically added to the end of the transmitted data to ensure its integrity. So if the data changes, when the attester attempts to create their own code, they'll see a mismatch and they can reject tampered data. So this allows the software in the host machine to recognize data manipulations. And so these are only a few examples of how security and privacy requirements change when we consider moving from benchtop sequencing to portable devices. Security assumptions also change as malicious adversaries become more subtle and sophisticated. Unlike in the past, we can no longer consider controlled networks as the only security protection against attackers. So a multi-layer security approach is necessary to mitigate potential vulnerabilities as portable sequencing technology becomes more widespread. Solutions might already exist but might not be applicable, or could even be counterproductive for genomic sequencing processes. So how can we solve this? A dialogue between the security and bioinformatics communities is really essential here. There is a sense among communities that security research can cause more harm than good as we expose potential vulnerabilities. When we find issues, we actually engage directly with vendors to solve and address them. Before attackers can exploit these in the real world, we're actually engaged in this process with a vendor right now. But as a computer scientist, we know very little about how you use sequencing devices in the field. And so we're here to learn from the community and to understand what is critical for you. We want to understand how you are using sequencing devices to help make your workflows more secure and avoid your sensitive data from getting accessed or manipulated by bad actors. So we'd love to hear from you and have prepared a survey. So if you use a sequencing device and want to talk to us, please scan the QR code or visit. You can look up our poster online as well. Your feedback is really essential for us. So finally, I'd like to thank my collaborators, without whom this work would not have been possible. And thank you all for listening. So if you have any, if you'd like to know more about our work or have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.